All right, Steeler fans, it is Friday. The second half of the podcast means it's time for Jeremy Betz in the All Betz Are Off segment. I don't know if he's going to say TJ Watt sucks this week or not, but Jeremy, welcome back to the show. How are you?
I'm good. I've got another star player that I'm going to rat on this week.
Oh, good. All right, so let's get this off. I was listening to the Steelers fix yesterday, and you all talked about coaches a little bit, and everyone's all about Danny Smith right now. And I'm old enough to remember when everyone wanted Danny Smith fired, as in he should be on the first bus out of town. I want to ask you, you graded the defense on your last podcast. You did the offense the week prior. I want to get your thoughts on the coaching staff. And we're not going to go down to the minutia of like the tight ends coach or Alfredo Roberts, but head coach, coordinators, what's your take on them so far after 7 games?
Well, I do think it's been a mixed bag. And it was expected. I think specifically starting with the head coach, you have a brand new offense and a ton of new pieces on that side of the ball. You revamped your wide receiver room this year. You did a lot personnel wise that you're having to now answer for, 7 weeks into the season. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I think that the growth has been something we've seen continue to improve as the season has progressed. From week 1 to where the Steelers are now, it's so much better than what I think we entered the season with expectation of. And now that Arthur Smith is really cooking, and I think I've watched several, I've gone through the all 22 several times, whether that's just watching somebody else who's more knowledgeable about it than myself, or just looking at it for myself. And you can see a lot of the schematics coming together for Artie Smith. And I think that Mike Tomlin went out, he got the guy that he felt was the best fit for his organization, the way he wants to win football games, and also, while also improving a side of the ball that has just been non-existent for several years now. I think the plan came together well. And Mike Tomlin had some serious onions going to Russell Wilson last week. That was a gutsy call, and it paid off. And so I have to, if I'm going to give out, grades, I think all 3 coaches, if you're talking head coach and then the coordinators, they all have passing grades. Mike Tomlin has the best grade, in my opinion, of the 3. I'd give him an A. I think that he's just making good decisions this year, and he's in his bag. He's rolling, and there's going to be a few in-game things every week that you're like, come on, man, what are we doing here? But outside of that, decision-making process has been great. Arthur Smith is growing into it. He's a solid B for me. I want to see a little bit more schematically involving George Pickens. I think we saw that last week, the beginnings of that. I want to continue to see that. Terrell Austin, to me, is the one where it's like, okay, are we winning on defense because of the talent or the scheme or a combination of the two? I would say that it's based on talent almost exclusively. And that Mike Tomlin is the one of the two that would be providing the biggest boost to the defense. So I give a C to our guy, Terrell Austin, but I don't think he does enough creatively to help the defense, especially up front. I think the secondary, he's a good job there. Harry does a good job there. That's been his strength, right? That's where he comes from as a secondary coach. But along the defensive line and the edge rushers specifically, doesn't do a great job of getting them in plus matchups all the time. So I'd like to see him improve there.
I'm assuming Danny Smith would get a flying colors grade.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was with you there for a while that I don't know about this guy. Like we never have a good return game. We're not seeing much out of anything else. But the blocking game has just been incredible the last couple of years, and continuing to improve there. You almost expect it to make an impact in a game now, right? I think I do. But choose some more gum, man. I think the more you add in there, the better you get over the years.
Bazooka Joe on the sideline.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah. So that's interesting because Mike Tomlin, you were right. He had some serious stones.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, and I actually know for a fact that there were a lot of people in the facility, in the organization that were like, Justin Fields is 4-2. Like, why are we making this move now?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it was complete Lone Ranger, as was reported by Jay Glazer of Fox Sports, but I'm sure he had to go out on a limb and say,
Yeah.
this is what I'm doing. And I understand if y'all don't necessarily buy in, but it's like he said to Brandon Marshall after the game when he asked him, he said, that's why I'm highly compensated.
Yeah.
And it's to make those tough decisions. Has he done everything perfect? No. Will he ever do everything perfect? No. But I think at the same time, Mike Tomlin's done a respectful job. I really wish, I agree with what you said about Terrell Austin. That's where Keith Butler shined, was
Yes.
front seven, scheming them up. I know Jeffrey Benedict, when he was still on the staff, glowed about how he got TJ Watt into matchups where he could impact the game. And it just seems like Terrell Austin, who's doing a great job in the back half, is like, hey, TJ, you're really good. Go make a play. And teams are scheming to stop him. And you kind of are waiting for where's the counter move on defense? Where's the, okay, you're doing this, we're going to do this to get our best game wrecker to wreck the game. We haven't seen that yet. Not saying it's not going to happen, but we haven't seen it yet. I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
It is. And one thing that I think, we'll talk about this when we get to the game, but when you play a guy like Aaron Rodgers last week for the Jets, he's so good at recognizing situation and what the offense is set up to do, right? So there was a clip out there on X. I can't remember who put it out there, but every time TJ Watt had a one-on-one matchup in this game, that ball was out within 2.5 seconds. And that's just how they schemed it up. And if it was something where they needed to hold the ball a little longer, there was a tight end and a back on that side of the field. And they were daring Alex Highsmith and somebody else to beat them on the other side. And Highsmith did a couple times for some pressures. But yeah, TJ, maybe this week against a guy like Daniel Jones, who's a little less sure of himself, a little more prone to maybe hold the ball for a couple hitches. Maybe he can get home against something like that. But I think Tomlin and Austin have got to be in the drawing room trying to figure out a way to get their best player some more favorable matchups. It's hard to run from 10 yards away and go through 3 people and make an impact on the quarterback.
Absolutely. And I saw that same clip. That I think there were 9 total genuine one-on-one matchups.
Yes.
And you saw it. Aaron Rodgers knows where his protection is. He's getting his guys lined up. TJ's one-on-one. This ball's coming out real quick. So Breece Hall, if you're hot, get ready because it's coming your way. Lazard, you're running that in cut. It's coming your way. And so we'll see if Daniel Jones, Brian Daboll, and they can do that. We'll talk about that when we get to the game. But, you know, I'll ask you this. Dave Schofield wrote an article for SteelCurtainNetwork.com. I thought it was very poignant, very appropriate. He said this game scares him, essentially. This could be a scary game. The Steelers are favored by 6 points. Some are going to 6.5. And they're coming off of a nice win on primetime. This is a primetime game. They have a bye coming up, and then they have Murderers Row coming up after the bye. Does this game scare you at all in terms of a letdown?
Yeah, you'll see it in my staff picks, and we'll get to the pick later. But I do think that this is one of those games where it's going to be way closer than it needs to be come the fourth quarter. That's just the feeling of it. Because you do have the bye week coming up. And I'm not saying the Tomlin's guys are looking ahead to the bye week, to rest week or anything like that. But again, you are coming off an emotional high point win of the season so far against the Jets. I mean, like, I don't think it was arrogance necessarily that Mike Tomlin said that's why I'm highly compensated. I think he was just owning that he's the guy who makes the decisions in this room. But still, the mantra, or not mantra, I guess, but the feeling in this locker room is that there's a lot going right for this team right now, and there could be a chance for them to get a little too high on their own supply, I think. But the coaching staff's going to have to be on top of that this week. You heard some nice things in interviews why guys are staying focused this week and not overlooking the Giants. That's a really good defense in New York, really good defensive front. You can't go to sleep if you're the offensive line or the quarterback in this game. So it does scare me a little bit. But I also look at Mike Tomlin's record on Monday Night Football, and I'm like, this guy knows how to win in primetime slots. So hopefully those balance each other out and the better team wins. And I think the Steelers are that team.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question they're the better team, but we've all seen the better team not always come out on the winning side of things.
Exactly.
All right, let's take a look at our division schedule coming up, and then we'll talk about the Steelers prediction and things like that. Let's start with Eagles, Bengals. This is in Cincinnati at Paycor. Cincinnati is giving 3 points. They're actually having the Bengals with the slotted home field advantage.
Yeah.
That's surprising to me. Nonetheless, the 4-2 Eagles and the 3-4 Bengals. How do you see this game playing out in Ohio?
Man, this is the worst matchup for the Bengals defense in the league, I think, with that offensive line in Philadelphia and that running back, Saquon Barkley, who, granted, it was against his former team and a team that basically said, okay, yeah, we don't want you anymore. Thank you. Bye. Go to a division rival. We don't care. But Saquon Barkley looked like a rookie again, a second-year player again, as far as the spring in his step, the power that he runs with. And the Bengals just cannot stop the run. They are terrible up front against the run. And so I think the Eagles can just kind of sit back and ride their workhorse back to victory here. And I'm not saying that it's going to be easy necessarily, but if they're going to win, they're going to ride Saquon Barkley. And the Eagles defense, I trust more than the Bengals defense. But I do, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, if they hit on one or two, that changes the complexion of a ball game. I just think the Eagles are a little too much physically for what the Bengals can handle on defense. And so I'm taking the Eagles this week against the Bengals, although I think it'll be a close game. I'm going with the road underdogs here.
Yeah, give me the Eagles getting points. I figured out this Eagles team. I have a friend of mine who's an Eagles fan. I talked to him yesterday. I said, I figured out your team for you. He said, what's that? I said, it's all about A.J. Brown. It's not Jalen Hurts. It's not Saquon Barkley. It's A.J. Brown. When he's in the lineup, that offense is totally different. Why? You can't drop a safety into the box with A.J. Brown out there. He'll dominate two defenders, let alone just one. And so that opens up Saquon Barkley, Devontae Smith. He's going to be playing. A.J. Brown is a difference maker. He makes Jalen Hurts' job that much easier. I like the Eagles in this one to kind of throw some water on the Bengals 2-game winning streak. We'll see.
80 yards and 2 tutties in his first game back from injury. He is their difference maker. That's for sure.
He is. Absolutely. Yep. All right, let's go to a division matchup. The Baltimore Ravens go to Cleveland to play the Jameis Winston-led Browns. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are red hot. They've won 5 games in a row after an 0-2 start. The Browns are as cold as they get, 1-6. Some are saying sell the farm, plan for next year. I don't think Jameis Winston's going to do that, to be honest with you. Met my friend who's a Ravens fan, has season tickets, had coffee with him this morning.
Yeah.
I said, I think the Browns are better with Jameis Winston than they were with Deshaun Watson. He agreed. Nonetheless, the Browns are getting 8.5 points at home here.
Yeah.
Jeremy, what do you think?
Division game, 2 rivals that know each other well, even though the personnel is a little different. I still like how this Browns defense can keep them in games. So anytime I see a big point spread against the Browns, I sit back and I go, do I really want to take the points for the favorite against the Browns just because of that defense a little bit? Jameis Winston in his first game as the starter, I don't know. How is Kevin Stefanski gonna run this offense? Is this gonna look like the oh man, now I can't, Joe Flacco led offense last year, or is this gonna be still out of the shotgun doing what Deshaun Watson likes to do? I think you get back under center a little bit more. I think Nick Chubb is a healthy for another week and things get better there. That said, this Ravens team is really good. I mean, Lamar Jackson's playing out of his mind. I think we can sit back and acknowledge that Lamar Jackson is literally him at quarterback right now. To quote the kids. I don't know.
The Ravens are good, but their defense sucks. Their pass defense, I believe, is 32nd in the league. Yeah. And Marlon Humphrey has a knee injury, doesn't know about his availability. And he came down with, I think, 2 interceptions of Baker Mayfield last week. I'm not saying that the Browns are going to win this game. I will take the Browns getting 8.5 at home. In a game where they're like, our back's against the wall. We got to do something. Jameis Winston's eating dubs. I don't know what's going to happen pregame with that guy. But I will say this. The Ravens can stop the run, but they cannot stop anything through the air. Yeah. They are not the same Baltimore Ravens defense. I've been saying this. Their 30-point average offense is bailing out their defense week in and week out. And there's going to come a time where they don't do that. And what's going to happen then? And I'm not saying it happens this week. I guess I'm just talking in general terms here. But
yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you there. The one thing, like matchup wise, if you're the Browns, where you would want to play a team that's not good against the run, and you'd be better off against a team that's good against the pass, because it's Jerry Jeudy, no Amari Cooper there, David Njoku and Elijah Moore, and second-year player Cedric Tillman. That doesn't strike me as a group that's going to go out and put up 350 passing yards and surprise the the Ravens. Although I will say it'll be closer than that 8-point spread would indicate, in my opinion. That's just how these two teams play each other.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's go to the game that this line might shift because we're recording this as a Friday morning. There's only been one injury report. It's a Monday night game. I'll update the line and stuff on my Monday Let's Ride podcast. But as of right now, the Steelers are giving 6 points against the New York Giants. If you're looking for a money line bet, plus 195 for New York on the road, minus 238 for Pittsburgh. That's not good odds. An over-under of 36. 36. So, Jeremy, how do you see this game playing out? What's your prediction?
Yeah, I think just based on that over-under, I think, Vegas would view this as probably a low-scoring game. Both defenses are really good. The Steelers' offense has been improving, but then you've got Daniel Jones on the other side and an offense that just can't get its legs under them for more than a game at a time and in spurts. Let's just hope that spurt is not this week. That's just my thought on this game. If the Steelers' defense plays like we know they can, I think the Steelers' offense will do enough against this Giants defense to pull out a win. I do think it's going to be closer than it should be. Maybe the Giants are hanging around and the Steelers maybe have a 10-point lead and suddenly they're only up by 3 with 4 minutes to play and the Giants have a chance down late and you need your defense to step up. I kind of feel like this is going to be a slugfest game. It's going to be reminiscent of early season type scores where if you get to 20, you probably win this game. So I am going to take the over just barely. I think the Steelers offense is that good and or is getting that good. And I think that the Giants will make a play or two that they probably shouldn't. That's just my feeling here. So I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers in a close one that they might have to pull out late in the game. I'm going to say 24-20 Pittsburgh in a close game against the Giants that take Steelers fans back a little bit to the regular feeling of pit in the stomach with 2 minutes left to play in the fourth quarter.
Well, I hope you're wrong. I think that the Steelers, I think the Steelers offense, especially they're going to warm to the task again. It's not going to be I think some people want them to come out just like a juggernaut. Would you rather them start out fast and wane in the third and fourth quarter? Or would you rather them start out sluggish and finish strong? I would prefer the latter.
Yes.
Either way, I think this game is going to be close. I do see the Steelers pulling away in the second half. The defense coming up with timely takeaways, 3 and outs. I like the Steelers 27-13. 27-13. But again, just like the Jets game, you look at the final score and you're thinking, man, that was a rout. This might be a game that, again, the final score is not really indicative of how close it actually was. When you think about Najee Harris scoring in the last minute of action against the Jets, you look at what the score was at halftime, the takeaways that led to some scores. It might be that type of final score, but I like the Steelers 27-13. That's over. That's covering the spread. And I think they go into the bye week 6-2. And what else could you expect? But you want to call out another superstar player. I want to give you the opportunity to do that.
Oh man,
you going after
Minka?
Time for Minka.
Yeah, it's time for Minka. It's time for some Minka. I'm not going to sit here and again, I'm not saying he's playing bad football. I just think that the things that made him an all-pro, a special player, and even in there were years where he was at the back end of the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. 2022, 6 picks. It's like this guy just eliminates one side of the field, and he can take the ball away anytime he wants to. That's not the Minka we're seeing. We're still seeing him shut down big plays down the field. But when he is the closest man in coverage, and that's a wacky PFF grade stat that can throw things off, but the numbers aren't pretty there, and it's really bad. It's like one of the worst safeties in football as far as closest man in coverage. So I just think that, again, I don't know if this is scheme necessarily. I'm much better at recognizing schematic advantage up front than I am in the secondary, just to be honest, in my evaluation of football. But I don't know what it is. I think Minka, though, has a chance this week against an errant Daniel Jones, who isn't going to get, pulled for a Joe Flacco type in this type of game or get injured and probably could come back in, but they're just going to keep him out for safety's sake, like Anthony Richardson did against the Colts, or for the Colts. I think he's got a good chance. My bold prediction this week is that he does get off the schneid and he hauls in his first pick since week 17 of 2022. And so I think that, uh, given how Deshaun Elliott has come in and played really well in that let Minka be Minka role, I think Minka needs to now be Minka and start taking some footballs away. And I'd love to see that start this week.
I think he's feeling the pressure as well. And I think that
I agree.
I think he's trying to jump routes when he shouldn't. And then sometimes he might see something, but he's got to watch out for a Beanie Bishop, an undrafted rookie that's on the field. So, you think about like Cam Sutton coming back. You get more comfortable with Dante Jackson and Joey Porter Jr., Demonte KZ coming back hopefully this week. I'm hoping that as things settle down on the defensive side of this, especially in the secondary, we see more of the Minka that we're accustomed to seeing.
Yeah,
But
I mentioned that in the fix yesterday as well, actually, that I think it is kind of in Minka's head a little bit. And maybe he just needs that Deontay Johnson. He went a whole year without catching a touchdown pass. After he did last year, it was back to business as usual for Deontay Johnson. So I think Minka can get there again too.
I mean, at this point, if he take a second, like Beanie Bishop's second interception that bounces off of Garrett Wilson's shoulder right to him, it doesn't have to be pretty. Just get off the schneid, just get off the schneid. It's like a golfer that hasn't had a birdie in like a week and they've played every day. And then finally they hit a tree and it bounces onto the green and they have a bird. Hey, it doesn't matter. Just get a birdie, get off the schneid.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, man. I'm going to let you go, but go ahead and shout out anything you want to do coming up.
Yeah, if you missed the Steelers fix, go back and listen to it. We had a lot of fun grading the defense. We did the offense a few weeks ago. And then check out the Draft Dynasty podcast. This next week, we're going to dive into a little bit more actual draft talk. We've been basically talking best and worst players in college football and best and worst options for fantasy throughout the portion of the season here. But as we're getting closer to halfway in the season, we want to really take a deep dive look at the NFL draft way too early type stuff. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. Look for my power rankings. I'll be finishing those up tonight and getting those submitted. So we're recording this Thursday, so you might see it Friday, might see it Saturday, but check those out. And then stay tuned, man. There's so much we're doing here. Can I ask you a quick question before we go, Jeff?
Yeah, what's up?
If the Steelers were to trade for Cooper Kupp, does that happen the week of the bye after Monday night, or would that happen between the Thursday night game that just happened for the Rams yesterday and when the Steelers even play on Monday?
I would think if Cooper Kupp got out of the game last night with a clean bill of health, that it would happen after Monday night.
Okay.
Now they might have the pieces in place. I'm pretty sure like Devontae Adams trade was basically done. Yeah. And then once they get to that point, it's like, okay, the deal's done. And then they make it official. So that's when I would guess it would happen. It wouldn't be before the game. I think that would just mess with a lot of mojo. It would be a lot of distraction. I think it happens leading into the bye week.
I agree. Okay, cool. Just thought I'd check with you on that.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. All right, Jeremy, enjoy it, man. Have a good weekend.
You too.